Good morning, and welcome to the Monte Vista Unitarian Universalist congregation here in beautiful downtown Montclair. We're gathering today to receive the baptism of the goddess, and apparently she seems to be more into immersion today than sprinkling, but we will accept the blessing. Some quick reminders. After service today, there will be adult RE in the Founders Room, continuing the discussion on the changing to Article 2, which defines our principles and purposes. Tuesday is Taco Tuesday online. Please join in. It's always fun. Saturday is the memorial service for Dolores Burris, 11 a.m. So please, you're all invited. Ugly sweaters on Sunday, next Sunday, as we have the choir and music service. We'll also have ugly sweaters, and RE will be hosting a jolly coffee hour with activities on the patio, hopefully. I'm sure it'll clear by then. I think that gets us through the week. As always, check your Thursday announcements. They come in the email. Please read them. You'll find out what's happening. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan, and welcome everybody. To those joining us by Zoom, we have 11 connections, so we're branching out into all different places around the counties. It's good to be here together. We open our service with the ringing of the bowl. We sound the bowl 3 times, once for those who came before. Once for those of us here and now. And once for those who will come, and that includes Santa. I'd like to invite Carissa Moore and Donovan Moore to come up and light our chalices, or chali. I'm not sure of the plural of chalice. Oh. You guys want to come up and light the chalice? Yeah, okay. Our words come from the prompts of my readings from the work of Frank Ostazeski. This December morning, we have the good fortune to be together here in our spiritual home. As we pause in awe and wonder, we know that being in the company of soul friends clarifies our sensibility, awakens our creativity, and transforms our way of being in the world. Our self-consciousness relaxes and is gradually forgotten. Like ocean diving, we sink together below the tumultuous surface of the world and come to rest in the stillness that is found here, outside of ordinary awareness, shared presence. I invite you who are here in the sanctuary, or even those at home, if you wish to stand as you're comfortable, and we'll sing together. Hymn number 347 in our Singing the Living Tradition hymnal, Gather the Spirit. We'll sing all the verses. Beautiful. That sounded great. Thanks, everyone. Let's speak our covenant together. We affirm that love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve the world in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow in harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other. And we'll sing together our favorite hymn, our weekly standard, Spirit of Life. And you're invited to stand, but follow your body's wishes for that.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all stories of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. Fuente del amor, en hacia mí. Ya corazón, continente to compassion. Soul for love, soon in the mar. Hasta amor, de la vida. Agrádame, líbrame. Fuente de amor, ven a mí, ven a mí.
Please be seated. Everyone but Robert. It is time for our wisdom tale, and it will be shared by our Director of Lifespan Religious Exploration. The title of it is Emerson's Moral Dilemma.
Ralph Waldo Emerson was a leading 19th century philosopher and is known as the father of the Transcendentalist movement. Transcendentalists believed that people and nature are filled with goodness. Before he became a philosophical and literary influencer, his career began as a Unitarian minister, and he served the Second Church in Boston between 1829 and 1832. In pursuing ministry, Ralph Waldo followed in the footsteps of his father, William Emerson, a Unitarian minister who served Boston's First Church. In 1831 and 1832, the younger Emerson became embroiled in a controversy at Second Church. As a Unitarian Christian minister, Emerson was expected to regularly conduct a communion service, but he did not find the act of communion personally meaningful. Because he was interested in an authentic personal experience with the sacred, Emerson told his congregation he could no longer offer the sacrament of communion. His decision created an uproar. Although the congregation was fond of Emerson, this seemed unreasonable to them. Church leaders tried to reach a compromise, but he was not willing to lead a ritual that was not aligned with his understanding, and their negotiations were not successful. Emerson recognized that they would never be able to come to an agreement, and so he would no longer serve as their minister. While he never disavowed Unitarianism or his status as minister, he never again used the title Reverend, nor did he serve any other congregations. Instead, he chose to express himself through lecturing and writing. Emerson found meaning in his belief that we each cultivate our own character grounded in an experience of the sacred that occurs by looking inward. He teaches that by finding that spark of divinity within us, it is possible to have a direct, transcendent experience of the holy. Emerson's teachings became the cornerstone of the Transcendentalist movement, and his legacy has made a great spiritual contribution to the diverse beliefs of Unitarian Universalism. And now, if the children can come up and get our children's cellists, you guys can sing us out. Oh, okay, then I will take it out, and I will, and if we could get the song up on the screen. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Have a great class. This week, we replaced the offering message with a holiday message. Can you guys hear me okay? It seems like, okay. Oh, you're saying no, Steve? Jaryus, if you could boost the pulpit mic just a hair. That would be great. Thank you. We're replacing my usual offering message with a holiday message that I just received from the UUA. It's a message from President, the Reverend Dr. Susan Frederick Gray, and I hope you enjoy its message.
In this season of holidays and holy days, many of us gather to share traditional rituals that reconnect us with community and mark important moments in our lives. Holidays at this time of year, from Kwanzaa and Christmas, Hanukkah, solstice, and the New Year. These celebrations and more connect us to our history, our ancestors, inspire us with hope for what is possible, and remind us of the passage of time and tradition over generations. This season is a time of both joy and sorrow. Memories of loved ones and loss can be especially present in these days. The feeling of forced cheer can also have the opposite effect. And let's just be honest, that we come to the close of another year marked by loss, pandemic, war, and violence, and with so much still on the line, from our human rights to our planet. When I remember my growing up, I remember one of my favorite rituals growing up as a UU in a family that celebrated Christmas. It's the singing of carols, and my favorite Christmas carol is It Came Upon a Midnight Clear, written by Unitarian minister Edmund Hamilton Sears. The song imagines a chorus of angels hovering over the earth, always singing to a weary world, peace on the earth to all goodwill. But we, humanity, we never hear the song through the sounds of war and strife and thousands of years of wrong. But the hymn ends imagining the day when humanity will stop our acts of war and wrong. And then finally, in the stillness, we will hear the song. And then we together will join our voices to sing back, peace on the earth to all goodwill. For me, this song captures the essence of beauty and peace that is possible and that is always present if we just tune our hearts to listen. That rather than perfecting the world or ourselves, recognizing that there is peace and goodwill already among us, waiting to be revealed if we would just listen. And this holiday season invites us to be present and attuned to the blessings and wonders of life around us, to family and friends and community, to the sun and the moon, to the trees and the animals, to the rivers and the mountains and the seas, to all the beauty of this earth and the goodness and compassion that is present in the human heart. May we all make time in this season to pause, to listen, to nurture love and care for ourselves and each other, and to find joy in the many gifts we already have, and peace in moments wherever we can find them. Happy holidays to you all, to each and every one of you. May you know you are loved and held in the arms of peace and light. Blessings to you all, and happy holidays, happy holy days.
And it is with the deepest of gratitude that our offering will now be given and received. Please come forward with your offerings. Thank you, Lily. That was so beautiful. We have a time in our service each week where we share our delights and our disappointments, the things that are giving our life a boost or a hurdle. I have two concerns, two sorrows to share. One is that our friend Joe Lyons died this week. He died Thursday from the cancer that he was working hard to treat. And also our friend Carrie has put on her Facebook that she was diagnosed with having small strokes. So she was hospitalized for a time this week at a hospital near their home in Oregon, and she will be receiving further treatment in Portland for the condition. But her concern with me was that she couldn't play guitar quite as well as she could before. So, yeah. So your prayers are welcome. And I invite you to join me now in a time of meditation, and I'll follow that with a prayer. But let's begin just sitting comfortably with our eyes open. You can look at our beautiful image here. Very peaceful. Taking just a moment to pause in the space around you, and when you're ready, taking in a big deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth on your own timing. We'll just take a couple of breaths as our bodies do naturally, aware of the body's expanding as it takes in air, and we sense the muscles softening as we exhale. We breathe in the energies of the sky and the storms overhead, and we exhale our blessing on the earth as she absorbs this beautiful rain. And with the next breath, we gently let our eyes fall softly closed. We feel our body press down into the seat beneath us, and you might feel your feet connecting to the ground. Just taking a moment to enjoy the feeling of just being able to stop, having nothing to do for these few moments. We may become aware of a few thoughts passing through our mind, but also we notice how the body feels. Just checking in with the body, we notice there's a feeling of heaviness or lightness somewhere, a feeling of movement in our heart and lungs, maybe in our stomachs, or stillness. And as you sit there, just notice how your body is breathing. So often our breath is a good indication of how we're feeling. So notice if those breaths are long or short, deep or shallow. Feel the movement of the breath within the body. Place your hand on your stomach. And just stay with that feeling for a few breaths longer, following the rising sensation and the falling, as we rest together in a moment of shared silence. And as we softly come from the time of silence together, hear the words of Erica Hewitt and her prayer, the healing strands of the great web. Mystery of mysteries, we are thirsty for justice and bearing witness to grief. We are claiming our inherent wholeness and the healing strands of the great web of life that holds us. We are hungry for liberation and cracking ourselves wide open. We are mourning the dead and fighting for the living. We are singing for joy and aspiring for meaning. We are here together, embodying love and acting on love's behalf, reaching out in love and letting love wash over us, ebbing and flowing as it carries and holds us all. And may we do it all over again when the new day comes. Amen, and blessed be. Our reading today is called The Path of Truth, and it comes from poet Chelon Harkin. The path is truth. It shows us as many fires as it must, and we belong to the way of this flame. Whether we become ash or phoenix or both, we dedicate ourselves to returning to the white-hot center of all that is true inside our chest. The free and responsible truth that burns away everything that isn't a part of reality's shining face. There's a hidden jewel in the heart center of all that is true. That eternity has reserved for our claiming. We know we are adventurous enough to set out on the pilgrimage toward this pearl of great price, toward the center of truth, toward these unspoken storehouses of grace that restore us with the most personal and universal intimacy. Only when we've gathered into ourselves enough safety and trust does all that is true show us the profound tenderness inside of love. Love that unlocks every closed door and undoes every bit of armor and defense that we have installed within us. The unbreachable vault that time has created there, and yet it allows us to return with devotion and an obliterating joy to the path of the heart. And the path is truth. Really? I think this, the rain has us all mellowed. But it's great, it's great. It's good to feel cozy with you. As another intense and extraordinary year begins to draw to a close, we can wonder if celebrating its end and bidding it farewell is a fitting way to begin 2023 with a clean slate and an expectation for a big shift toward better days. Maybe so. But let's not cross that annual threshold without packing a bit more of the meaning-making into our travel pack that we can take forward with us. Writer and philosopher George Santayana guides us with his words, "Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it." So knowing there are no simple universal answers for the complicated challenges that we now face as a people on earth, we have lots of evidence and a ton of faith in our capacity to heal and transform, to learn from our experience and to make meaning-filled change for the better. We can know this from our own lived experience, and we see it everywhere if we look through the lens of one who is here to bring change and to make meaning from our every experience. At the heart of all the madness that we witness, there is much positive change taking root on many different levels, bridging us to each other as co-creators of change and to bring forth a more heartfelt and trauma-sensitive world. The archaic ways that have ruled humanity until now are finally showing signs of fading, and the times are calling us upward toward more change and more of our fourth principle, shared here with my edits, a free and responsible search for truth-bringing and meaning-making. Our lives call us to always be changing, and this is no time for us to wuss out or to bury our faith in the sand because we lack confidence. This is the time for us to ground our faith in sacred action, planting the seeds for the more inclusive world that will follow. It is time now that whatever your calling is, answer it. Whatever your gift is, bring it. And whatever your offering is, offer it. As my friend Jeff Brown shared yesterday, don't ever imagine that anything about you is insignificant. It isn't. That fire in your belly is the torch that leads us home and guides us into a new year that will be full of blessings. That fire is the furnace of purification for the meaning that you have made from the experiences of your journey, and they are far from insignificant. The image on the front of your order of service is one that I created from my preparation and of this week's sermon. It's turned out to be quite a conversation piece around our home, and I do hope that its message enhances your lives as well. Let's use this image in a way that allows us to explore together the ways that we can be making meaning from all that we experience. And that's our starting place. We begin at the top with experience. Oh, it's up there. I love our technology. Thank you, Jaryus. Ralph Waldo Emerson pops in here again for another visit after our wisdom tale, and he tells us that life is a succession of lessons which must be lived to be understood. That lived experience is the tool that we use to understand the lessons within our lives and to make meaning from them. You can use this image to mine your own experience after today, and I do invite you to use it to do that. But let's use our shared experience of the COVID-19 pandemic for our time together today. But first, let's pause to embrace the importance of also using this theory for meaning-making from joyful experiences. Part of my learning from the creation of this image is that the first step following any meaningful experience that springs from joy would be to embrace an encounter with happiness. In the case of a joyful experience, we could add rejoice to the outcomes at the first rest stop over on the right. Rejoice, relief, and recuperation are proper responses after a meaningful life event, like the birth of a child or a grandchild. Attending the opening ceremony of the Olympics, or one of Lily's live concerts, or winning the World Cup. So we'll explore rejoicing another time. And if you feel an urge to rejoice after a COVID-19 experience, we can make an appointment and explore that a little deeper together. But the relief and recuperation that we take time for after our pandemic experience is an important first step if we're to have hope of making meaning from COVID-19. The courageous ways we faced the pandemic and made our decisions for how to come together through it were unifying and calming. Taking the time now to finally feel a bit of relief and to recuperate slowly from the impact of the COVID experience is our first step to make meaning from it. A big exhale. We know it's not over, and COVID-19 may never be completely eradicated in our lifetime, but it is more endemic now than pandemic. And we've turned the corner toward the next step in meaning making. Reflect. With a moment to bow in acknowledgement to the fact that some of our ignorance was our bliss, I'm remembering my thoughts that first Sunday when we decided to cancel in-person worship in mid-March of 2020. I was certain we'd be open in time for Easter services that year. Reflecting now on what we pulled together as a huge meaning maker, our constant support for one another, and the fact that we were up and running on Zoom after missing only one Sunday service. Lily's online concerts kept us filled with hope as the COVID lockdown unfolded. And we did our best to stay in touch through phone calls, cards, and online visits. It was helpful to listen to science, even as science was scrambling to figure things out. We also reflect on and celebrate our willingness to roll up our sleeves and get vaccinated. The guidance from experts and from our own Alan Worley, thank you, Alan, gave all of us the wisdom to face the storm that was building despite not having a clue about what we were actually in the midst of. Author and grief expert David Kessler has a saying about how to face an oncoming and unknown storm that he explores in his book titled Finding Meaning, the Sixth Stage of Grief. He tells his readers to be a bison. When a herd of bison sense a storm is coming, they don't move away from it. They put their weakest members of the herd into the center, and together they move toward the storm, head on. Turning away and traveling in the same direction as the storm increases the amount of time that you are exposed to it and running from it. The storm chases you until you turn toward it and face it. And we did just that. We were bison. We turned toward whatever it was that was coming, and we faced the storm and went through it together. And I believe that we minimized the impact that the pandemic had on our community by listening to wise guidance and acting together for the good of all. The stage of reflecting can be revisited along the way as we journey toward meaning making. We also take with us the healing touch that we found in our relief and recuperation stage. One way to move forward from our time in reflection is to close out that time by finishing this sentence: if it wasn't for COVID, I wouldn't have appreciated the value of making eye contact, or how one smiles with their eyes. If it wasn't for COVID, my respect for nurses wouldn't have grown the way it did. If it wasn't for COVID, I wouldn't know what I've learned about myself and the great benefit there is to just stopping everything for a time. Each of us will have both identical and unique responses to that question, and I invite you to share them with one another. There are many positive outcomes from what we've been through, and our meaning making brings them alive to weave fine within the losses that continue to be carried in our hearts. Moving around our image up toward the next steps of making meaning, re-envisioning, readjusting, re-examining, remembering, revisiting. We see where the deep, meaningful meaning of our experience continues to ripen and bear fruit. We don't see anything exactly the same as we did pre-pandemic. We continue to adjust our lives and our masks and live well and keep one another healthy. We re-examine our social calendars, our grocery shopping, our every experience, and we remember that all has changed. The over 6 million lives that were lost worldwide, and what it took for us to come through it. And we revisit the entire journey and we come back to see the vastness of the original experience with new eyes, from a new experience and a new perspective. Our journey around the circle of our image today is not akin to a racetrack, but instead it's better illustrated as a drive through a very tall parking garage. Yes, we see each step again as we go around, making meaning. But we're changed by the work that we've done and the ways that we've grown. Our lives are enhanced by the meaning that we have made. We are stronger, we are wiser, and we are more compassionate. And we carry that meaning deep within us as we open up and we imagine greater things, entering into yet another experience together ahead. Blessed be. Carissa, if you could come up and extinguish the chalice. The words are in your order of service, and I invite you to read those out with me. May we recognize the truth and meaning in our lives that breaks into every moment. May it guide us in our living every day. May we live at peace with all beings and be makers of peace in our world. Amen.